There's only one thing that Jason Shea should have said to ETSU brass when they gave him an interview for their vacant head men's basketball coaching position yesterday. Show me the money. Hi, I'm Marky Bilson, and if you can excuse the 25-year-old catchphrase, that's exactly what ETSU must do. Show their coaches the money. If they want to show their fans they're serious about continuing to win in college basketball, continuing to be a mid-major power. John Rothstein, CBSSports.com, reports that Jason Shea was interviewed yesterday. I kind of think it's one day too late, but then again, who knows? Maybe Jason Shea said, hey, you know what? Can we do this on Saturday? I mean, I got to buy a new suit. I would just want to prepare, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe that's not that big of a deal, okay? What is a big deal is that B.J. Mackey, assistant coach who actually was considered for the Wofford head men's basketball coaching position last year when Mike Young went to Virginia Tech. He has agreed to join Steve Forbes' coaching staff over at Wake Forest, so there will not be a retention of B.J. Mackey. Forbes had indicated that he wanted to take his staff with him and that Jason Shea has a job, if he wants it, with him at Wake Forest. A little bit different than when Ed DeChillis went to Penn State and Tom Conrad, his top assistant coach, was not given a good recommendation, and as a result, Conrad did not become the ETSU men's basketball coach to succeed DeChillis. Instead, it was Murray Bartow. So, by the way, something else I should point this out. Johnson City Press, I went through it, not one article about the ETSU coaching search, not one in the Johnson City Press today. Okay, we got these the Shea interview. That's from John Rothstein, CBS Sports. That's why you watch these videos here. That's why you subscribe to me on YouTube. That sort of thing. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about what the feel is on ETSU basketball right now, because right now there is more of a positive vibe surrounding the basketball program than there were in the previous two, shall we say, glory eras of ETSU basketball. So let's take the glory days, Mr. Jennings, Greg Dennis, those guys, 5 1,000-point scorers. The team that won 4 straight Southern Conference tournaments, though, there was a feeling in the local media at the time. I can remember Bill Meade saying this, enjoy it while it lasts. And while he was right to a certain extent, because that 91 team was the only ETSU team in history that's ever been nationally ranked, I do kind of scratch my chin and say, why was it not thought that ETSU could continue to be, say, a contender for the Southern Conference crown on an annual basis? Why was it that there wasn't a feeling of ETSU could compete for NCAA tournament berths on a year-in, year-out basis, which is what the feeling is right now as a program? I don't know, but I can tell you within 2 years there was a serious buzz that, hey, Science Hill could beat ETSU. Remember, Science Hill won the state championship in 1994, and as absurd as it is to think that a state championship team could beat even a bad D1 college basketball program, that wasn't dismissed outright in the media. And that's where you got the, hey, George Pitt should be the head coach of ETSU rumors, et cetera, et cetera. And it's why, for the rest of the 1990s, high school basketball was much more popular in the Tri-Cities than ETSU basketball was. How much more popular? Consider that when ETSU finally did win the Southern Conference title back in 2001, they drew only 2,000 fans a game. For the last 30-odd years of ETSU basketball, that's the lowest per-game attendance count they've ever done, and it was for a conference champion. That's how unpopular ETSU was in the 1990s. They weren't selling any season tickets whatsoever, obviously. So that was the feeling. But then let's look at that team that won 4 straight Southern Conference championships. Now, they did lose in the tournament in the first 2 years, but Wadood and Fields and all those guys, they did win 4 straight conference championships, back-to-back NCAA tournament berths in 2003 and 2004. But the feeling was after that 2003 team and Ed DeChillis left that as soon as ETSU dropped football, oh boy, here it comes, getting kicked out of the Southern Conference, you knew that the success was temporary. And certainly it was, because after Fields and Wadud and Ben Rhoda all graduated, then ETSU went 10-19, 7-19 against D1 opponents in their final season in the Southern Conference before leaving temporarily, as it turned out, for the Atlantic Sun. And in the Atlantic Sun, you just were not going to be able to have a program the caliber of what ETSU has been able to do in both the Southern Conference and, dare I say, even in the Ohio Valley, in Grandpa's age and such. Anyway, that's the situation. But right now, there's not that feel. And for ETSU to continue on as a mid-major power, which I think that right now people are saying, you know what, this program could continue as a perennial Southern Conference contender. And the Southern Conference right now is a top 15 college basketball conference. They've got to show the coach the money. Steve Forbes was the highest paid coach in the Southern Conference. It actually warded off suitors. UTEP, for instance, was kind of interested in him becoming the coach there, and Forbes said, I don't think so, that sort of thing. He was, after all, the highest paid coach in the Southern Conference. That's got to continue. So you're looking at about $400,000 minimum to pay the head coach for that to continue on. Right now, the highest paid coach, now that Steve Forbes is no longer in the conference, is Wes Miller, who has about a $300,000 base. He made approximately $400,000 last year when you consider the bonuses and such that he got. It should be said that Forbes' actual base contract was for a little more than $400,000, but he had a retention bonus and bonuses for beating LSU and winning the conference, and I don't know what his sneaker contract was, but he was getting $650K, if not more, last year for coaching the Buccaneers. Now, maybe Jason Shea, without head coaching experience, okay, you can say he doesn't quite deserve that. But whatever coach you're going to hire, if he's any good, you're probably going to, if you were going to bring in somebody from the outside, pay him more than $400,000. Give you an example. Now, if you're an ETSU fan, you've got to love this. But Andrew Doty of HeroSports.com theorized a few days ago that Earl Grant, College of Charleston's head coach, might be a candidate for the Buccaneers job. The reason why you got to love that is that 19 years ago, Ed DeChillis, after that conference championship season that nobody went to, he actually interviewed with College of Charleston, which, remember, at the time was still a conference rival of ETSU. He actually, interviewed at College of Charleston to succeed John Cressy, as a matter of fact, and didn't get the job, obviously, but consider that. Yeah, at once upon a time, 19 years ago, the ETSU coach was interviewing at CFC. Now, national media is theorizing, the CFC coach, he could go to ETSU. But if that was going to happen, if Earl Grant was going to come to Johnson City, Earl Grant made $650,000 last year at CFC. Yeah, about the same that Steve Forbes did. So they would have to actually pay, ETSU would, more for Earl Grant than they did with Steve Forbes. Might be a reason why he's not coming, but if you're going to bring in a successful coach from the outside, you've got to be looking at that kind of Forbes money. Jason Shea, maybe not. Shea, you got to ward off whatever Wake Forest is going to pay him to be an assistant. He made $90,000 base last year to be Steve Forbes' right-hand man. To make him the highest paid coach in a Southern Conference, you got to quadruple his salary. But you know what? I'd rather they give that money to Shea, who has earned it for what he's done at ETSU, than another coach who earned it for what they did at another school. Think about that. Plus, as I've said, right now is not the time to shake things up at ETSU. If you can bring in the assistant and all this, it could be a turnkey team, certainly for contention in the Southern Conference next year. Why do you want to break up a good thing? I don't think you do. So you've got to be looking at this. For the ETSU head men's basketball coaching position, Shea may actually be the most economical choice. But you still got to pay him well, and you got to make him the highest paid coach in a Southern Conference. Folks, I'm Marky Bilson, of course, former sports talk show host extraordinaire in the market. Also wanted to say, doing a lot of work on writing now for Medium, doing a lot of this independently. So my voice is getting out there. Last week, almost 4,000 reads for my columns on Medium. In fact, I think that there was probably more than 4,000 reads for my columns on Medium. So this is really picking up. Why don't you jump on the bandwagon? Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to Medium. But subscribe to my YouTube channel where we have a playlist for ETSU. We've got an interview with Jason Shea on there. And hit the bell, like the page. We're going to continue to give you analysis. And we're going to continue to do this because, like I said, Johnson City Press today did not have one single article about the ETSU head men's basketball coaching search in their Sunday paper. Nothing about Shea's interview. Nothing about coaches they could bring in. So for the best ETSU analysis, it's right here. Subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to the Medium. We'll be back on in the market hopefully very shortly. Until then, our next commentary is going to be about the head men's basketball coaching search and other candidates other than Jason Shea, plus some ideas on assistants. Talk to you then. I'm Marky Bilson.